Church family, and happy Sunday to you. Today we begin a new series called Stuff You May Have Missed. So we'll be covering popular Bible stories, but we'll be looking a little deeper at things you might not have noticed before. Today our story is about Samson, and some of you may think it also might have to do with him being strong and his strength coming from his long hair. And that's a part of the story for sure. But the other piece is self-control. So while we dig in, go ahead and grab your Bible and find 1 Timothy chapter 4, verse 8. That's where you'll find our memory verse today. While you do that, I'm going to dive into our lesson. So, Samson, he was born at a time where there was some crazy things going on between the Israelites, that's God's people, and the Philistines. They were always at war. They were always wanting to just fight and cause trouble. Well, when Samson was born, God sent an angel to declare over Samson's life that he would be the one to help bring freedom to the Israelites. And in doing that, God declared that Samson would be very strong. But there was a promise involved. That's the other part of the story we might have missed. God promised to make Samson strong and to use him to free the Israelites. But Samson had to keep a couple promises too. Those promises were not to touch things that were really dirty, to keep himself clean, to not drink alcohol, and to never cut his hair. Those were the three promises that Samson needed to keep. So, as time went on, we learn that Samson had a bit of a problem with self-control. So, he wasn't able to keep two of those three promises. And that was kind of a problem. Now, was God still able to use him mightily? Yes, he was. But because Samson didn't have a very good hold on having self-control, it wasn't exactly as God would have hoped. So in our memory verse, it gives us the other piece of this lesson. So again, that's 1 Timothy chapter 4, verse 8. And it says, "For physical training is good, but pursuing godliness is the value of all things." Now, that word godliness, that's something maybe we hear a lot in church, but we might not fully understand what that looks like. As I've been studying this week, I learned that godliness isn't necessarily to be like God, but it's to keep God in the proper place in your life. So if you make a list and you put God at the top, you're always looking for how the other things on your list revolve around God. So God isn't necessarily at the top, but he's always at the center. That all the things that we do would revolve around what God would have us to do. That he is the center point of our lives. And in many ways, that involves the fruits of the Spirit. That involves self-control. That involves keeping our promises and doing what God asks us to do. Fortunately for Samson, he had a hard time with that. But even still, it's a good example to us to know that we all mess up. We all fall short. We all struggle with these things. And we still, at the end of the day, always have hope in Jesus. I pray that you learned something today, and I pray that this week you'll look at your life and you'll say, how can I change things so that God is the center and stays there, and that we don't push our hopes into the middle instead. I love you all very much. I am praying for you daily, and I cannot wait until we see each other again soon.